What's up, BB besties? I have a live feed update today.
Hey, BB friends, here's a quick update.
Welcome to the Girl Gab Podcast. Join your hosts, Allie and Nikki, as they break down the latest in pop culture, TV, and whatever else they feel like gabbing about. Girl Gab starts now.
Welcome to the Girl Gab Podcast. Hey, Nicolette. How's it going tonight?
Hey, Allie. Pretty good. Ready for the weekend, as always.
Yeah. We always record on Fridays, if you didn't know. So tonight for us is Friday. So we're like just drained from the week. It's our weekly catch up with each other. We literally just talked for like 22 and a half minutes before ever even starting to record.
Yeah, the behind the scenes conversation first.
We do our weekly catch ups, okay?
Mm-hmm.
So if you're listening to this, I want to go ahead and spoil a little bit for you. If you are a regular listener of our podcast, you may want to tune in on Wednesday because we have a special episode that we are dropping on Wednesday. It's going to be a little shorter episode, but it is going to be strictly about Big Brother. And that's all I'm going to say on that.
Yeah, I'm really excited to kick that whole thing off.
Yeah, me too. So the reason we're doing it, just to give a little bit of background, but the reason we're doing it is because Big Brother is literally, we estimate between 10, 12, maybe 13 at the most weeks away. So we have planned for approximately 10 weeks of this series. If something crazy happens and they start it in the beginning of June, then we may have to change our minds. But
yeah,
we have to just throw a couple of episodes. So definitely tune in on Wednesday. Aside from that, there's something I need to talk to Nicolette about here for just 5 seconds. I know that you're a former Teen Mom fan. I'm also a former Teen Mom fan. I think just our age bracket that we're in, it's hard not to be.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, it was like the start of reality TV outside of like game shows was MTV. The mecca of reality television was MTV for our generation. So yeah, 100%. Yeah. If you were into reality TV and around our age, you are probably also a former Teen Mom fan.
Yeah, and around the time it started, the teen pregnancy. So it started like 2009-ish, 2010-ish. The teen pregnancy rate was like so high at that point, and it was actually started with not Teen Mom, but of course 16 and Pregnant. They never dreamed about the 16 and Pregnant. It just was so successful, or the Teen Mom, that it was so successful that they spun off into the Teen Mom thing. 16 and Pregnant was literally documentary based, similar to the way that we had True Life, I would say. So anyways, if you are in your 30s right now, you probably watched Teen Mom, as did we. And what I want to talk to you about is Caitlin and Tyler. So several months ago, I'm thinking it was like in the fall, because I know Big Brother was still going on, I had posted a video about Caitlin and Tyler, and I was like, I just don't know, because that was when all that stuff came out about, like, you know, Brandon and Teresa cut them off. And I had opinions because I was like, you know, like, Caitlin and Tyler are posting shit, and like, I just don't know that they're helping their case. Like, I understood at that time, I thought I understood why Brandon and Teresa, I still do understand. Brandon and Teresa are very conservative people, very religious people, and Caitlin and Tyler are not, and are very open about not being. So it is very obvious to me that their life differences are a big catalyst as to why they don't want that ongoing contact the way that they once did. We can get into all kinds of arguments about, oh, Caitlin and Tyler, they chose a Christian organization for a reason. Sure. But what I'm about to get into will explain their views are different today than they had when they were 17 years old.
Literally children. Yeah.
Yeah, so I have been listening to Caitlin and Tyler's podcast, Kate and Ty Break It Down. It's on the Killer Network, which is Kale Lowry's network. And man, do I have a different perspective. The Teen Mom thing has been a big deal in my life or whatever. Like, I've always watched Teen Mom. The only time, like, I only stopped watching once Kale Lowry got off of Teen Mom. I just thought that it was a good time for me to stop because they were merging the whole, and they weren't really showing the same girl on every single episode. I was just kind of like, I don't know about this. So I have not really watched the new Teen Mom Next Chapter thing. But I follow all the clips on YouTube and TikTok and everything. And Kate and Ty got a lot of heat in the fall when they openly spoke about how Brandon and Teresa cut them off. And I was a big critic of that because I did feel like some of the actions. Like, for example, Ty having an OF, like, because they are so religious, like, I could put myself in their shoes and go, okay, like, if these are your beliefs, I could see why you don't want to do that. But then again, after listening to everything I listened to and learning what I've learned about the adoption community, I vehemently disagree. I don't care what your beliefs are. This is your child's birth parent, and it is your responsibility to make sure that your child is aware of who they are. And I'll give you an example. Caitlin and Tyler have sent Carly a Christmas present every single Christmas since she's been born. But because Brandon and Teresa not only asked them to contact them, they also told Dawn they do not want Caitlin and Tyler to send them gifts. It's harassment. So they are not allowed to send a Christmas gift. But you know who they are allowing Christmas gifts to be sent from is their other child that was adopted, also out of Michigan. They have a son that was adopted after Carly. That mother is also religious like them, and they are still allowing contact and gifts to be sent. To me, I am concerned on Christmas morning, 20 past Christmas, that Carly didn't have Christmas gifts to open from her birth parents, but her brother did. That's one of many examples that make me question the ethics behind what Brandon and Teresa are doing specifically. But I learned a lot in listening to not only the Jordy Cray episode, but the most recent episode that it dropped on, I think, April 16th. They actually brought in an author. I cannot remember the name of the book at the moment. I don't remember the name of the book right now, but they brought in an author of the book. And this book apparently is really popular in the adoption community. And my gosh, her insights, I totally agree with every single thing about this adoption community situation. So she's a sociologist, and she, like, I guess the book is about her, like, giving examples of, like, adoption stories so that people could read them and go, oh, that's similar to my story. Oh, that's so. But she also does research because she's a sociologist. So, like, this isn't just an author of a book. Like, she's done research on this. Shed so much light to, like, okay, for example, I didn't know in 2009, 2010, whenever it was that I watched that episode of 16 and Pregnant, I had no idea why they were exchanging Carly outside of the hospital. They exchanged her outside the hospital because the hospital was like, this is sketchy.
Because it wasn't actually like legal binding.
And she shed light. Caitlin and Tyler actually don't know what documents that they signed, and they have not been able to obtain them. Tyler did mention in that episode that he assumes what he signed was what she said they probably signed because of similarities. But she was saying that they were signing essentially temporary guardianship, not to Brandon and Teresa, to the adoption agency, and waivering all parental choices at that time. So let's say it fell through with Brandon and Teresa. They just waived all their parental rights legally. They were 17. And something that Tyler mentioned in this podcast episode was, you know, something he looks back on and thinks about is there were 3 adults sitting in that room, Brandon, Teresa, and Dawn. And 2 17-year-old children. We didn't know what we were doing. Also, something else that she talked about was how people feel really, like, rushed. So, like, she talked about another person she interviewed, and she said that she already had, you know, met up with the birth parents, and the birth parents already had another child, like a toddler or something. And when she met up with them, they had their son with them. And the son was like, my sibling is in there in your belly, and like all this other stuff. And that person was talking about how she felt obligated. Like, I can't let down these adoptive parents. I can't let down this adoptive brother. Like, it's almost like it guilt trips the birth mom. And one of the most interesting things, I really hope you listen to the episode now that I'm telling you about it, and you can, like, talk to me about your thoughts. But one of the most interesting things that she talked about is, statistically speaking, this is really important to me. I was raised, like, in a religious situation, and, like, I don't have religious trauma or anything, don't get me wrong, but I do resonate when people talk about, like, the pro-life and pro-choice and situation. And her perspective on it is, okay, if you're pro-life, that's fine, but adoption is not the solution, and let me tell you why. Because statistically speaking, what's actually happening is people who want to obtain an abortion are going and getting it or if they cannot, especially in our new climate that we're in, if they cannot, they just parent. They just choose parenting. The people that want adoption are actually people who never wanted abortion. They were attempting to parent, and then something pivotal happened during their pregnancy, or they got to a stage of it being too late or whatever, and they were like, I can't do this. And she gave an example of like a mom who had a high school pregnancy, teen pregnancy or whatever. She got pregnant again. Later, you know, her kid was like 2. She gets pregnant again, and she's like, I can do this. Like, I did it the first time. Like, she didn't have really any support behind her, but she was like, I did it the first time. I got this. I can do it again. And she said that there was a moment where that mom was sitting in her car at like a Walmart or like a store or a restaurant or something, because they had free Wi-Fi, because she was like, I can do this. I can go back to college. I can get my degree. I can do better. And she was actually actively trying to do better, to have this child and parent that child. And she had a, oh my God, I can't do this moment. I have a toddler in the back seat, and I'm sitting in a parking lot getting free Wi-Fi. Like, I can't do it. And then she chose to give her child up for adoption. So it's not, statistically speaking, what we think it is. And I thought that was really interesting. Some of the more interesting conversations that happened on like the Jordy Cray episode too are like about the ethics of adoption, and like, hey, if you are going after adoption, Brandon and Teresa very obviously were going after adoption because they were unable to have children of their own. But like Tyler is very open and candid about how like, if you want to parent, that's when adoption is for you. If you just want a baby,
right,
you probably need to go to therapy first. Like, adoption is not a replacement for your infertility. And I'm sorry. Like, I agree with that. I really do. And I see their side of it now. Like, I still think, like, even Jordy Cray said on his episode, he was like, you know, I see both sides. He was like, I do think that you still made mistakes and I do agree with that. I do think that there are things that Caitlin and Tyler did that probably caused Brandon and Teresa to not be, but like, also as the birth parents, should you have to tiptoe? Like, you guys agreed to this open adoption. Also, Brandon and Teresa wanted to close adoption from the beginning. So why did they agree to meet with Caitlin and Tyler? Dawn should have said, hey, this is what they want. Are you okay with this? If you're not, then let's find somebody else. So
yeah.
I have seen the light on the extremely problematic ethical issues. And there's so much more I could go into, but y'all are just gonna have to listen to that podcast, because it is so like insightful. There's a lot of information. I'm excited to see like what else they do with this platform.
Was this the
No, this is the most recent episode of their podcast, but they only have like 8 episodes. It's super new. So you could easily get completely caught up if you want.
Yeah.
But their whole standpoint on this podcast is, it's called Kate and Ty Break It Down, and they are definitely breaking it down. Like, they are diving into adoptions, situations, and stories. So that's my tea for the week. I don't know if I have anything else to say about it, but yeah. Other than just go listen to it. You just have to listen to it. I could sit and talk for days about it, but it's probably just better you listen to it and form your own opinions. But so I heard you have some Survivor stuff you want to talk about. So if you wouldn't mind, let's dive into Survivor.
Yes. So before we dive in, I just want to remind everyone that I'm like coming back new into Survivor. This is my first season of New Era Survivor that I'm watching. So we're going to kind of like break down the episode, but I do have some things regarding New Era that I want to talk about. So in this week's episode, last week was when Cedric and Say were both voted out. They did the 2 tribe kind of situation. So then when the episode starts, we're just kind of seeing the fallout from tribal like usual. And then I think pretty quickly we move to the challenge, because it was such a long, drawn out process, because it was the like, what was it, 3-part, 4-part challenge, and then like the bottom, however many people had to go to the journey to see who was going to lose their vote. So we have the challenge, and then Eva ends up being the one that wins like the whole challenge and has immunity. And then we had like Star, I think Camilla, Shaheen, and one other person that went to the journey, but I can't remember who the other person was. Star ends up losing her vote at the journey. And then we come back to the island where everyone is scrambling to try and figure out who they're actually going to vote for, which, in my opinion, David was so stupid in this episode, pushing so hard for Camilla to be the one voted out and getting so mad when anyone wanted to offer up a different name, and then he was gaslighting the hell out of these people, because then he would be like, well, why are you getting so defensive? Why are you getting so defensive? It seems like you're really trying to stick your neck out for Camilla right now. Blah, blah, blah. Shut up. Anyways.
He needed some milk to chill him out.
You're correct. That probably would have helped. Anyways, so we go to Tribal. And
but side note though, I just want to say this. His inflexibility is going to be to his detriment, I think, in the coming episodes. I just want to say that.
Yeah.
Because he could have easily pivoted and been more flexible, and choosing not to do that, I think, is going to be a problem for him, specifically when it pertains to Kyle and Camilla.
Well, because, here's the thing.
Because he's in the strong five, but I think he's at the bottom of it based on that decision to be so gaslighty.
Well, yeah, because it didn't make any sense, because everyone else that was offering other names had logical reasons, like evidentiary reasons. Like, other people had directly said people in the Alliance's name, rather than you just having this hunch that Camilla and Shaheen are close.
Which, to his defense, it's not even the Camilla and Shaheen. Like, Camilla would have been a valid person to vote out. But
yeah,
he didn't have it. Like you said, it was just a hunch. We as viewers get to see everything, so we know, he was onto something. But I just don't want that to get lost with viewers, that they don't know shit. We know, but they don't. And so looking at it from, if you're standing on that island, he didn't
have a strong argument.
Yeah.
And so the fact that he was getting so worked up when other people did have strong logical arguments just makes him look really, really terrible, honestly.
And I think he's definitely on Kyle's shit list now. So
yeah, 100%. But then they end up going to Tribal Council. Chrissy ends up being the one that's voted out. But also at Tribal Council, him making the statement that it is rare for the tough people to stick together in these competition reality TV shows, and he doesn't understand why Chrissy has a problem with it. And her kind of people, the outcast and the whatnot, they team up every single season, and they're the ones that win Survivor the most, and blah, 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 blah. You're wrong. It's very common, in fact, for the macho dudes to stick together.
Let's remember that he has not watched Survivor in decades.
Yeah, but even decades ago they did it. It was probably even worse.
He's only on Survivor so he can get out of his van down by the river.
Well, it's not going to happen. He's not going to win.
No.
I should say. I don't know about the
van
by the river.
In fact,
but
I wouldn't be surprised if he doesn't make it past 2 more episodes.
Yeah, so. I don't know. I just am really I'm really annoyed. He annoyed me, but
he's
that's
not making
it
to the final 5 in my perspective. I don't see him as final 5. So
no, not at all.
But what's your actual rant?
That annoyed me. Yeah, my rant about Survivor is there is way too much production involvement in Survivor these days. Not only production that you don't see, but Jeff himself. And I say that he is production because he is an executive producer. But there's been so many times in the last couple of episodes that he's called certain little nuances out that I'm like, that should not be something that he should be able to call out, because that should be something that they either pick up on their own or they don't.
Yeah.
You're directly impacting the game by pointing that shit out, and it's so frustrating and annoying. This week, it was for the challenge, they had to pair up with each other. And he asked Camilla a question after they had revealed what their pairs were going to be. And he was like, what did you think about the pairing situation or whatever? And she was like, oh, something about being surprised that she was the first one picked because she thought she was going to be the last person picked. And he was like, oh, Shaheen, what do you think about Camilla saying that? Because she comes in with this kind of story week after week about how she's the weakest player and she's low on the totem pole. But we've seen that to not be true several times. That is someone's strategy that you are calling out in front of the entire cast. That is wild.
I also have this bone to pick with Jeff in the new era as well. I've been saying this. I don't really, up until this season, I didn't talk a whole lot with you about Survivor because you weren't watching. But this is a bone that I have had to pick with Jeff Probst lately as well. I think
it's ridiculous.
I may go back and see if I can find it. I know I posted a TikTok about this, like being like, Jeff, can you shut up last season? Like specifically at tribal councils, it's really bad at tribal councils.
And see, I haven't even noticed it at the tribals. Both instances where I've had this has been at the challenges themselves.
And Jeff's always been sassy. Don't get me wrong. He has always been sassy. But in the new era, he's like, okay, I'll give an example. Like there was a time when Parvati was talking about something and he said, is that because you're just used to getting attention or whatever it is? And she something about, are you just used to having attention and you're not getting it right now? Okay, fine. That's sassy. That's about her personally. She's talking about something and you're questioning her about her statement. Right. When you start questioning other contestants about someone else's statement about them or about anyone else, like that is interfering with the game. And I do wholeheartedly agree with what you're saying. It is a bone that I've had to pick with him since I've gotten more invested in the new era.
It's really frustrating and it really annoys me because, I mean, when there's so much focus on the challenge and then you have production interfering with the actual strategy, it's really annoying to watch for me personally.
I agree.
Then
the way Mary was sitting was bothering me during the taco party. I didn't like the way she was sitting. You'll have to go back and look at clips now. Yeah. Continue. I just had to say that bothered me as I was watching it. Anyways.
Yeah, I'll have to go back and watch. But Eva finds what does she find?
Like a clue. But she also has an idol, right?
Yeah.
She has an idol. Now she has a clue. She has Joe behind her. And then she has the strong five. I think Eva is sitting pretty at the moment. I think she's making it to final five. I think Joe's making it to final five. I think of the chaos picks, I think Star's making it to final five. She's not. Mitch has too good of a backstory. It would be hard for anyone to vote against Mitch. And so I think he would be too risky to take to final three. I also think, you know what I mean?
Mitch hasn't been included on several votes. I'm honestly surprised he's still here because they don't even see him as a benefit as a vote.
I think both David and Mitch are at risk on the next episode. I think David for obvious reasons that we just talked about. I think Mitch for just the only person he really had was Charity, and now Charity's gone. I do like Mitch. I want to be clear that I like Mitch, and if I was on the island, I would have a hard time writing that man's name down. But I think that's why you have to write his name down, right? But yeah, he's in a bad spot. But so is Mary, I think. And because Mary was playing too hard.
Mary's really close with David, so yeah.
Right, that was what I was going to say. She's playing too hard, too fast, and her only real alliance is with David, who also I think is at risk now, given what just happened.
Yeah, I agree.
Now,
and I don't even know where the Mary and David thing came from. I was like,
nowhere.
When I was watching the episode,
nowhere.
I was like, how is Mary calling the shots for David out of nowhere? What the hell?
I will give David credit on this. He did, if I recall correctly, he did still vote with them. So it wasn't like he was so inflexible that he was like, fuck it, I'm just going to throw my vote however I want to. But him pushing so hard was too much. Also, Kyle pushing so hard was too much. Yeah. I also know after that episode that Kyle's not winning. Like, Kyle did too much that night or that day or whatever. Like, he should have not pushed. Like, the way that both of them were going at it, if I was Shaheen, I'd be like, what? Like, why do both of them care so much? Something's going on here that I don't know about. And same with Joe. Now, who is in the best position? I think Joe, because if you notice, not only is Joe in a safety net because of the strong five, the Eva situation, Joe also is someone that people are coming to. They want to tell him information. They want to get his opinion and input on decisions. And I think that's a really good spot for Joe.
Yep, I agree. So. I think Joe's in a really, really good spot.
But yeah, I think that's all I have about Survivor. I do have one thing I want to talk to you about. I know I sent you like a video of an author that I saw recently going on another podcast because now you're my source of like, is this author problematic? Because I'm not into book talk, but I do understand that like some authors have like controversies. So I want you to explain this author. Her book, I guess her most recent book, has caused some issues. So I want to hear about it.
Yeah, so the author is Abby Jimenez, who honestly has been a really beloved book talk author for quite some time now. I know her book that just came out, it came out on April 2nd, was one of my most anticipated book releases of the year. I was extremely excited to get it, to read it, and amongst all romance readers on Book Talk, like she's just one of those everyone loves her books kind of people. Until this book. Honestly, for a couple of reasons. So, number one, if you are in the book talk space, you know, if you are on the book talk space and on the side of book talk that knows and acknowledges that reading is very political, then you know the strong feelings and opinions about the author Sarah J. Maas. And that on our side of book talk, we do not like her, we do not support her. Probably one of the top, like, this author is problematic, we don't support her kind of people. In this new book, by about probably chapter 2, there's about 7 different references to Sarah J. Maas books and characters. To the point where...
Wait, both of these are romance fiction novels, and she's referencing another romance fiction novel that has nothing to do with her? That's weird.
Yes, and listen.
That's weird.
So, well, Sarah J. Maas is like
normal?
fantasy romance. No, it's not.
How do you know that she's referencing? You're gonna have to give me...
It's by character. It's by character. It's by descriptions. Basically, she is using... Okay, the character in Sarah J. Maas's book is called Resand or something. I have never read a single Sarah J. Maas book, which is a problem for me to be able to enjoy Abby Jimenez's book, because when she describes what the male main character looks like, the only descriptor is for you to imagine Resand. I've never read it, never will, so I have no idea if this man is tall, short, blonde, blue eyes, brown eyes, nothing. That is the only descriptor that she gives. But there's other ACOTAR references thrown in just because.
And these authors are not in cahoots about it.
No, this was a complete shock to everyone as to why she's referencing her books. Then on top of that, the book just wasn't good. I will say there are some people that are liking it. I have seen some positive reviews, but if I am being honest, even as someone that has loved every other Abby Jimenez book that I've read, this book was not good. There were a ton of weird TikTok references as well, which is just not something I enjoy in my books. Let me set the premise of the book. A woman finds a cat, takes the cat to a vet.
You lost me at cats. I'm so sorry. I know I went to a cat cafe last weekend, but that was just for the reality kid.
I would agree with you. I would agree. I'm allergic to cats, so I'm not a fan.
You can't come to my house then. I have 2 dogs and a cat.
But listen to this. So she finds this cat, takes the cat to the vet as you would if you are like adopting a new animal or whatever.
You found a stray.
All to find out that the cat doesn't have a butthole.
Wait.
And this is the meet cute for the book because the male main character is the vet.
Hold on. Does it have a way to shit? How is the cat... Is it a newborn, an infant kitten? Because, like, that's not even logical, because a cat would die because it would turn septic of not being able to poop. That's actually not logical, and this is why I can't read, because now you lost me. I can never read a book again. Just kidding. But, like, that's not logical. That's not logical, right? Like,
no, there was some kind of explanation to how
somebody sewed its butthole up. Like, what's the explanation here?
Like, the cat, I don't remember what it was. Its butthole fused
itself. It had hemorrhoids. Like, what's the...
No, the butthole didn't exist, but it was like shitting out of like another part or something.
Okay,
I don't know.
Cool. It's shitting out of another hole. Okay.
Out of another hole. Not its mouth, but another hole somewhere.
Okay,
I don't
continue.
remember.
I'm sorry. Continue.
But, like, butthole is said so many times throughout this book because it's a main, like, point of this story. Because the vet that she takes the cat to is the male main character of the book that she, like, falls in love with whatever.
Do they have erotic butthole sex?
They do not, actually. Which is very surprising.
Would have been fitting. Would have been fitting.
Yeah.
She missed an opportunity.
Exactly. I don't know. It was just like, honestly, Abby Jimenez's books are typically very centered around like anxiety, depression. There's a lot of like mental health representation that makes them very relatable to a lot of book readers, because we all have most of us have some of those, like anxiety, introverted, like different things like that, you know?
All of us millennials have that, you know what I mean?
Right.
Like those Gen X's, they really did a whammy on us.
Yeah, exactly. So that's kind of like what we were all expecting, because that's what all of her books had been, for the story to then be centered mostly around a cat that doesn't have a butthole. I will say, just so I'm being 100% here, I will say the other side of this is like, she does have a family member that has dementia, and so that's like also a part of the storyline. But I'm just saying, like, it's hard to really like focus on that
because of the butthole cat.
Because of the butthole situation.
Okay.
So, yeah, I'm hoping Emily Henry's new book comes out this week,
but
I'm hoping it's not a letdown.
So, these are unrelated facts, but we're annoyed with the book because it's not good. We're annoyed with the book because the reason it's not good is because of the cat butthole you can't get past. But also, she unrelatedly pulls shit from another author, and everyone knows that she probably pulled it from the other author.
Oh, there's no denying that that's where those references came from.
Has that other author said anything?
I don't know, because I have that other author blocked. I don't support or interact with. I really won't even really follow book talk people back if they have that author's books on their shelves. I don't. That's why you shouldn't use that as a main descriptor for your male main character, because you
will never read another Abby book again, ever.
I wouldn't go that far. She's not completely and totally canceled, and this is like her.
This butthole thing would probably do me in. I'm not gonna lie, Nicolette. Like,
I'm just hoping she's learned her lesson. I don't think that she's ever made it had through a book like this.
The butthole book is shocking.
I did. I finished the whole book. I did.
Considering you read that, as opposed to reading The Handmaid's Tale that I wanted you to read. Like, you were sitting there thinking, should I read something about our current issues in life, or should I read something about cat buttholes? And then you read the cat butthole book. You escaped.
It was still escapism.
Butthole.
Whatever.
All right. Well, I think that's our episode for the week.
There you go, everyone. Read at your own risk.
Please read at your own risk, and make sure that you guys are tuning in on Wednesday, because as I told you in the beginning, we have a special episode if you are a Big Brother fan. If you're not a Big Brother fan, I think it would also be an opportunity for you, if you're listening and you're just listening for our pop culture and our books and our other, like our Survivor content or Traders content, it would be a good opportunity for you to like get a little bit of knowledge on the Big Brother community. Now, you're going to get spoilers. You are going to get spoilers, because we're going to say like what place this person placed in. But yeah, I think I'm really excited about this.
I'm
series,
really excited
the Waffle
for it.
Wednesday series. So, all right. Well, have a good night, Nicolette. I'll see you next week.
Thanks. Bye, everyone.